Hello again, viewers. When this channel hit 4,000 subscribers, I made a video running some of my trains on the Providence Northern Club layout. Now that I've hit 5,000, some friends and I decided to do it again. I've been working for the past few months on repairing and upgrading the Westport and Shelter Cove fleet with DCC, sound, new paint jobs, and various other modifications. And to celebrate 5,000 subscribers, I brought 5 of these new and improved custom locomotives to stretch their legs on one of New England's largest HO scale layouts. First, we have Westport and Shelter Cove number 8. This roundhouse 280 has been part of my fleet since the very beginning of the Westport layout, but it's gone through many changes since then. In its latest makeover, I've given it an ornate black paint scheme inspired by the Sierra Railway, along with a new headlight and some other detail parts. I also had to swap out the frame and drive wheels due to an issue with the axles, so this is now a mishmash of parts from several different generations of this model. While I was at it, I got rid of the flimsy plastic crank pins and replaced them with screws. I also installed a new motor and a TCS Wow Sound decoder. Wow Sound varies the volume of the chuffs depending on load, which can really help the realism of the sound when going up and down hills, but getting it calibrated properly can be tricky sometimes, and the chuffs end up too loud or too quiet during normal running. I found out that it doesn't like locomotives with relatively low top speeds, so for this one I actually ended up swapping in a different, faster motor. This did solve the problem, but in the long run I'm thinking of moving away from Wow Sound as my go-to brand of sound decoders, since there are some locomotives that it just doesn't play nice with. The next locomotive is another one I've had for a long time, but like number 8, it looks a bit different than you might remember. Number 7 is a Bachmann Spectrum Modern 440, modern in this case meaning 1900 instead of 1870. Since you last saw it, I've added a different cowcatcher, headlight, and cab. The cowcatcher is a brass one of unknown origin, and I had to modify it slightly to fit, but I really like how it turned out. The headlight is from Precision Scale, and the cab is from a different version of this Bachmann model. To make it look older, I filled in the roof hatch and painted it to look like wood with my usual brown wash method. I have a full video on this technique called How to Paint Fake Wood if you'd like to try it out. I'm super happy with how this one turned out, and I think it just oozes character. It also has 12's old tender. If you're wondering what 12 has for a tender now, all will be revealed later in the video. Next up is another 440, but this one has a very different backstory. At first glance, you might think it looks like one of those old Rivarossi 440s, and that is what it started out as, but this is probably the most unique Rivarossi 440 out there. These normally have a motor in the tender, but I wanted to install DCC and sound in this one and there just wasn't room, so rather than give up and find another engine like any sensible person would, I decided to cut up the frame and find a way to squeeze a motor into the engine itself. This will get its own full video soon, but for now, suffice to say that this was a very in-depth project that involved parts from at least 4 different locomotives, and I definitely won't be attempting it a second time. But against all odds, the final result is actually a really nice runner. I also did some custom paint and detail work, including a new stack and headlight, a custom Russia iron color on the boiler, and like number 7, my signature wood technique on the cab. The tender now houses a Soundtrack's Econami decoder, a sugar cube speaker, and a keep alive capacitor to supplement the mediocre electrical pickup. This will eventually become Westport number 2, but for now I've left it in its factory Virginia and Truckee lettering as an homage to the model's original prototype. Speaking of new additions to the Westport fleet, here we have my first kit-built locomotive, a Mantua 262 Prairie that I've been working on intermittently for over a year. This one will also get its own video soon, so I won't go into too much detail here, but this is one of the early die-cast Mantua Prairies, not the later version with the plastic boiler. This one has been fully modernized with a CAN motor, LED lighting, and of course DCC and sound. I also put a smaller tender on it since the one it came with looked way too big for the engine. My prototype inspirations for this were McLeod River Railroad 25 and Santa Maria Valley 205, both of which are small prairies with even smaller rectangular tenders, and I think this roundhouse tender captures the look quite well. Like the 440, this has a Soundtrax Econami decoder. The Econami is the cheaper version of the popular Tsunami 2, and I've really grown to like these lately. They don't have all the features of the Tsunami 2, but they're still a pretty solid little decoder, and they sound a lot better than you'd expect for the price. Mine are all installed with 21-pin sockets, so I can easily swap them out for another decoder later if I want to, but so far I've been pretty satisfied with them. Finally, we come to the main attraction, the new and improved Westport number 12. It has a new tender, new motor, larger driving wheels, some improved paintwork, and the obligatory sound decoder. Unfortunately, those new driving wheels come with some sad news. I've had to part out Westport number 13, the high boiler 460, because it was just too worn out and cosmetically damaged to restore, so its motor and drive wheels are now part of number 12. I do plan to rebuild it, but I need to find another Spectrum high boiler 460 to use as the basis. It's basically going to get the same treatment as 12 did a few years back. Like 12, I'll try to reuse as many of the original parts as possible, but it will end up being a pretty severe Ship of Theseus situation, as 12 itself is. On the plus side, 12 is now a hybrid of the Bachmann low and high boiler designs, making it a truly unique locomotive. I did the same drive wheel swap on the original 12 in a video several years back called A Tale of Two 10-Wheelers, but that swap was only temporary. This time it's permanent, and I couldn't be happier with how it looks. It does shimmy back and forth a little bit on the track. Let me just sort that out.
Just a little bit.
That's what Heist calls doing the dance.
Yes. Guys in the cabin like this.
Since it has the larger drivers, but it still has a low boiler frame, the height that it sits at is in between the low and high boiler versions. So while I couldn't use 13's tender, I couldn't really use 12's original tender either, which is why I gave it to 7. I discovered that a Mantua 460 tender lined up perfectly, and since 12 is an oil burner, I designed and 3D printed an oil bunker for it, and did the lettering with a brother label maker as usual. I keep thinking I should find a more professional way to letter my trains, but all the other methods I've tried for custom lettering are massive headaches. The label maker is quick, easy, and looks good enough for my personal standards, so I'll probably keep doing it. I bet you didn't even notice that the tender lettering on the Prairie was also done with the label maker. If you've been paying close attention thus far, you may notice that we're passing over an area of the layout that we've already gone over with this train. This is because I decided to send this one down the branch line, which is a whole other section of the Providence Northern layout that the normal main line run skips right past. However, getting there does require going over this bridge again. Well folks, that about wraps this one up. Obviously, my Westport engines were only a small part of the train shenanigans we got up to on this trip to the Providence Northern, and my friends Peter, aka the Berkshire Main Line, and Tristan, aka Train Street, also made videos that day, so be sure to check those out and subscribe to their channels. I'll link to them in the description below. Also, big thanks to Troy Cedarfield for organizing this whole event and bringing some interesting British trains. I'll link to his channel as well. Also, I do live streams on Tuesday nights, either running trains on the layout or playing train-related games, and you're always welcome to stop by and chat. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see all of you next time.
Brett Scotsman. Beat me up, Scotty.
For a second, I just thought you said beat me up, Scotty.
Star Trek reference.
I know, yeah, no. There's not a realistic function on this too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Let me run it back.